Thank you, Misty. I want to say a couple of things about the topic that was actually the name of this panel, which is comparing apples to apples, and not so much talk about the California program, maybe because I've already given this speech about the California program about 5 times in the course of the last 2 days, and some of you may even have already heard it. So I want to do something a little bit different here and talk about how putting carbon thinking, putting climate thinking into our work has changed the way we do business in California and at the Air Resources Board. First of all, I want to second what Larry Green just said about how the frontline responsibility for regulating air pollution lies with local air pollution control districts. In California, at least, and similar arrangements exist in other states, the agency that you deal with, if you are a business and you need a permit to put in any facility that emits anything into the air, you're going to go deal with Larry and his agency. And they've been busy for quite some time now, adapting their work to gather more information about greenhouse gases and make sure that when they do their permitting of industry that they are taking into account greenhouse gases as a form of pollution as well. What's changed, as I see it, over the years as a result of starting to think about greenhouse gases as a pollutant that we need to regulate is that it makes us think about life cycle accounting, and it makes us think about efficiency, neither of which are things we ever needed to do before when we were first thinking about air pollution. In fact, the history of clean air laws involves getting more and more precise about the impacts of a particular pollutant on a particular group of people in a particular community, and we vary our regulations a lot based on how sensitive the sources and the receptors are, and we try to really fine-tune those regulations so that they get to the point where it's almost like a one-off situation. The thing about carbon dioxide in particular, but other greenhouse gases as well, is that it does not matter where they're emitted. The impact on the atmosphere is going to be the same. And when we try to come up with schemes in California, which we have been doing now for a number of years, to address greenhouse gases as a pollutant, it forces us to think about not only what's coming out of a particular smokestack or tailpipe, but where that fuel came from, how it got there, and how it was being used or how it's being disposed of at the end of its life. So it's forced us into a new kind of thinking, which is not just about slapping a device on the end of the process, but really to think about things in a full process way. I want to use as an example not the cap and trade program, which is a piece of our scheme for reducing greenhouse gas emissions to meet our target, our legislative cap of returning our emissions to 1990 levels by 2020. I want to talk about the low carbon fuel standard, which is a hallmark of the California program and is something that we're trying to market now at the national level as a sustainable fuels program. So this is about getting the companies that sell us our gasoline for our cars and the diesel for our trucks to invest in reducing the amount of their fuel and the carbon content of the fuel that they sell us, because they need to be part of the solution, and right now they're a big part of the problem. The regulation that we put in place requires them to reduce the total carbon content of the fuel that they sell in California by 10% by 2020. And they can do it any way they want to. They can do it by selling more alternative fuels and putting in pumps at their stations that charge electric vehicles or that supply hydrogen for fuel cell vehicles. They can do it by buying credits from companies that do the same thing and that register their credits in the California market. They can do it by creating lower carbon feedstocks for their gasoline or blending their gasoline with biofuels that are derived in ways that are more fuel efficient. But all of their product is treated the same way. any unit of fuel that goes into a vehicle gets measured, counted, and the carbon content of it is compared. That's why it's apples to apples. It's not comparing one fuel against another and saying we like this one better than that one, CNG is better than diesel, or diesel is better than gasoline. It's saying you can drive with whatever fuel you want to, but you've got to reduce the overall carbon content of what it is you're producing. And so I want to, because other people here are going to talk about other specific aspects of their programs, to just make this point at this stage of the conversation, which is that in a world where we are trying to find ways to work across existing jurisdictions, across different elements of our economy, and deal with a pollutant which is so widespread and so built into our economy that it's almost impossible to think about how to extricate it. You know, when you talk about the proportion of it that we're using, that if we really do think about it as an apples to apples kind of approach, it will get us to think in new ways about what sustainability really means. Thank you.